thing. I already know that the vast majority of you are kind people. You really take into consideration the feelings of others, even when people maybe are not like the nicest, they're abrasive, they cut you off in traffic. Well, let me introduce you to what I think is an underrated skincare ingredient and an underrated insult. Next time somebody is saying something nasty about, I don't know, your hair, your outfit, whatever, just look at them and go, Urea. That'll shut them up right quick. Urea is amazing and it's a great insult. We're talking about Urea today, and we're not just talking about it because I talk about it a lot. We're going to be comparing the blue and whites. These are newer products from CeraVe and Roche Posay, which I have been trying out, testing out, comparing and contrasting formulation performances of these two Urea body targeted little pump bottles full of wonder and splendor. I've done a lot of heavy testing for you because there's too much FOMO in the skincare aisle. You know, you see one, you see the other, and you're going, which one should I go with? Well, you made the right decision to just consider Urea off the bat, because I've got to tell you, when it comes to skincare ingredients, people, they read articles about different peptides, about bakuchiol. You've got an ingredient on the shelves that has so much true, robust clinical research backing it up, demonstrating turning around of various skin concerns, skin conditions, and that's Urea. And guess what? Urea, it is naturally found in your skin already. What does it do? It's hygroscopic, it's small, it's water loving. It helps to improve moisture retention, but it also actively gets into your skin cells that comprise the majority of your epidermis, known as keratinocytes. They have transporters for them, okay? So that says a lot. The bulk of your skin is ready to receive the ingredient, and it's already naturally there. It makes its way into the keratinocyte through that specialized door and begins to affect changes that result in improvement in production of key necessary factors for your skin barrier. Urea is really a barrier repairing ingredient. Not only that, but Urea actually helps to enhance penetration of topical medications. So that's something that in dermatology can be a challenge, getting stuff that we want into the skin effectively. Urea can really help that, not just for the skin, but for the nails as well, which are very stubborn for penetration of medications like antifungals used to treat toenail fungus. And Urea can really amp that up. Urea also is keratolytic. Depending on the overall formula, Urea can go in and denature keratin protein to allow for exfoliation of dry, rough skin texture. Now, the way Urea behaves in a skincare product will of course boil down to the overall formulation, but you can't have a discussion about Urea's performance without some discussion about percentages. A lot of the skincare products that you encounter will have a low percentage in the range of 2 to 10%. Low does not mean useless. Low just means low. In this range, Urea is primarily doing the thing of moisturizing the skin as well as improving barrier function, both of which, with ongoing use, improving moisturization and barrier function, there is a trickle-down cascade effect, okay? You don't necessarily have to come in right away and start sandblasting your skin. You can stay consistent with basic moisturizing, and it really does have long-term downstream effects when you stay consistent of improved barrier turnover, epidermal turnover, all of these things. You don't need gangbusters concentrations of Urea, but when we bump up to 10 to 30%, that is known as a medium concentration, then you get not just barrier function and moisturization, but you start to get into the keratolytic territory of dissolving dry, rough skin, which really is something that people who deal with like keratosis pilaris or rough callus, they often encounter. And you know, these more keratolytic strengths, they get in there and they really actively break up some of that dry, heaped up stuff, whether it be the bumps around the hair follicle or, you know, the stuff on your heels. Then you have over 30%. That is high. And over 30% is what would be used in, you know, medicinal purposes for debriding dead skin tissue, really allowing for good penetration of drugs into the nail. That's really where you want to go. Overall, Urea is very well tolerated. related. However, it can cause a stinging sensation of mild skin irritation. This is typically mild, more likely at higher percentages, and it's often short-lived and doesn't necessarily cause any adverse effects, just a discomfort, which for some people, especially young children, may limit acceptability, but is not necessarily a bad thing. Allergic reactions to urea, incredibly rare. It's actually the most evidence-based ingredient for dry feet. Urea has the most data compared to any other ingredient. It's not the only thing that can help with dry skin on the feet, but it's got the most clinical data behind it. Dry skin in general is a lot more common over the age of 60. We have randomized controlled trials in older adults showing improvement in dry skin with urea. Dry skin is also very common in diabetics. Check out my video on how having diabetes impacts the skin. You'll recall that dry skin is really common in diabetics as well as impaired barrier function. Urea has been shown in diabetics in clinical trials to improve their dry skin. And it also helps with certain genetic dry skin conditions like the extreme dry skin condition, ichthyosis vulgaris. As a side note, I do have a video on that, so if that's something you struggle with, make sure you watch that. But urea is a topic of conversation in the skincare needs of patients with ichthyosis vulgaris as well as a variety of other less common ichthyoses. You've got dry skin on the legs and you want a research-backed ingredient, reach for urea. There's a lot of clinical data on urea for dry leg skin. There's also good data on using urea for psoriasis, and atopic dermatitis can help increase the number of eczema flare-up free days they have and can help reduce their relapse rate by 37% in clinical studies. And urea has been around the block for a long time. Now, when we're talking about ingredients backed by dermatology research for treating skin concerns, skin conditions, it's no surprise that you are finding CeraVe and Roche Posay coming out with urea products. In fact, CeraVe has been doing urea for a bit now. They've got the diabetics line with urea and they have the psoriasis line with urea. But now we have this intensive moisturizing lotion with 5% hydrourea. But La Roche-Posay, I want to say, at least in the US market, this is new for them, the Lipikar Urea 10% Roughness Smoothing Lotion. Obviously, the percentage of urea is different between these two, 5% versus 10%, still within the low range, helpful for moisturizing the skin and improving barrier function. Those of you who watch the vlogs, you know that one of the things I've experienced with this is quite a bit of that stinging sensation. In contrast, that does not happen at all with the CeraVe 5% hydrourea. Texture-wise, they're very similar. They don't leave a sticky residue on the skin, which I really like. Importantly, I put these on at night after showering, and the following day, my skin is moisturized, firm, and that hydrated skin that I appreciate, the softness, the suppleness, the firmness from better moisture retention, it's pretty long lasting into the next day for about 48 hours. Like if I skip moisturizing with these the next day, the next night, if I just put my pajamas on, which I hate doing as an atopic, it always makes me a little nervous, my skin does stay moisturized for the next day. No fragrance, no aroma of the urea. Now, urea can have sort of an off-putting sour aroma to it. A lot of people ask me about that with different urea products. They say this kind of smells bad. Urea is a volatile ingredient, so you do have that aroma to it. These don't have that, at least that I detect, okay? There's no sort of aroma. They both have shea butter in the backbone, which is a nice moisturizing formula. No niacinamide, woohoo! Now, I love niacinamide. It is a great skin barrier supporting ingredient. It's an antioxidant, it's anti-inflammatory, but many of you find that it burns, it stings, it irritates your skin, and you cannot escape it. Don't you worry, these do not have niacinamide. Here's where they start to get a little different above and beyond the differences in percentage. CeraVe, per the namesake, has ceramides, lipids naturally found in your skin barrier. Applying them exogenously may help improve barrier function above and beyond or in addition to or support the barrier improving functions of urea. No ceramides in the La Roche-Posay product. CeraVe also has hyaluronic acid, sodium hyaluronate, the salt of hyaluronic acid. That's a humectant. It also helps with improving moisture content in the outermost layers of the skin, smoothing out fine lines, helping to address dry skin, helping to improve barrier function. No hyaluronic acid in La Roche-Posay Posay product. La Roche Posay includes allantoin, a soothing, moisturizing ingredient. No allantoin in CeraVe's intensive moisturizing lotion. Price-wise, they're actually pretty similar. CeraVe, you can choose from 3 sizes, 8 ounces, 12 ounces, 16 ounces. La Roche Posay, only one size, 13.52 ounces. Price-wise, kind of depends on what size you go with CeraVe. The 16 ounce is the cheapest per ounce product, but they're all pretty close in price. The 8 ounce of CeraVe is going to be more expensive than the La Roche Posay product. So there's that. You know, they're not substantially different in terms of price, in other words, but you do get some different size options with CeraVe. Now, one thing I complain about a lot of times when it comes to La Roche Posay is their pump packaging system annoys me to no end. First of all, the product tunnels out and up the walls so that it's very difficult to get product out once you get, honestly, to about here. You don't want to add water to this to try and make it looser and easier to get out, because that will impact the final formulation and substantially increase the risk of microbial contamination because it disrupts the preservative system. I just find it annoying when it gets down to this part. I've got to physically take this off, whack it into my hand. I don't like doing that. It's not as precise as the pump, and it's just like this whole song and dance. Not to say that it doesn't happen with this, but this rectangle packaging, it's easier to whack stuff back to the center as opposed to this. That's just been my experience using these two packaging systems. Also, the pump on La Roche Posay lotions is very slow releasing. So it takes a while to get enough product out to fully moisturize your arms and legs, for example. Whereas the CeraVe one is a lot more efficient. Now, I've tried putting both of these on the face. They don't say anything about putting these on the face. They are specifically marketed for body, but you know, I'm gonna try things out. Why? Well, people often have rough skin texture on the face. Urea is great as a facial care product. And if you've got keratosis pilaris on the face, yeah, you need to tune in for Urea because it can really help the rough and bumpy stuff. I had no issue using either of these on the face, although I did get that kind of tingle with this one for sure. Did not happen with this. So if you're going to get one because you want to try using Urea not just on the body, but you want to dabble with facial use, I would say go with the lower percentage strength. Definitely can be helpful, not just for keratosis pilaris, but also that dry, rough skin texture. Like I said, Urea is a great ingredient. The main difference between the two is if you've got rough skin texture like keratosis pilaris, dry skin on the lower legs, you're probably going to turn a corner a lot faster with the 10% than you would the 5%, but this will catch up to this, you know, within a couple of days, okay? This is more likely to sting than this, and my experience with this is it does sting. A note about the stinging that is worth exploring for you if you're someone who deals with chronic itch, as is characteristic of atopic dermatitis. The sting, the tingle of the 10% Urea, you might use that to your advantage. A few moments of discomfort actually can kind of silence the itch for a sustained period of time. Think, for example, topical capsaicin used to treat itchy back, notalgia paresthetica, depletes those little itch signals in the skin. It buys you a period of time where it's like, oh, the itch is gone somehow. Wow, how did that work? So that might be something you want to explore if you've got chronically itchy skin. Make yourself a little uncomfortable with the Urea tingle, and it might buy you some itch-free time, which at night, you know, that's getting into the itchy skin up all night, tossing and turning territory. All in all, these perform really well. Like, they did a great job with these formulations. No surprise. I mean, when it comes to R&D, L'Oreal brands are where it's at. They put so much money, a wild amount of money, into R&D of their formulas, ingredients. The Urea really is offering quite a bit in these formulas. All right, y'all, let me know in the comments, are you a Urea nut like me, or is this the first time you are hearing about Urea? I hope not. If so, I hope this video was informative to you guys, but if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Oh gosh, but if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.